Okay, now can you hear? Okay. Okay, well, we're talking about Robert L. Blakely, Robert Lawrence Blakely Sr. And I found out this morning. Can everybody hear me? A little closer. Oh, I got it. Oh, yeah, all right. I found out this morning that he was born on May 27th, 1896. That was in question up to now. And he was born in Shirley, Indiana.
We want to see a birth certificate.
Yeah. It's in the mail. The early years I don't know too much about. He enlisted in the Army during World War I. He boxed a little bit. He had the lack of good judgment to knock out his commander, apparently. And I can't see this as a good way to be training to go into combat. You'll be the first one chosen for the suicide missions when they come up. But anyway, he was on the docks in New York Harbor when the armistice was declared. He claimed that the Germans heard he was coming and quit. Here's an interesting little item. He had an Indian motorcycle back in Indiana, and he used to like to take it out on the country roads and open it wide open, which is what he did one day. And afterward, it was a warm spring day, he stopped to rest, leaned it against a fence post actually, and the handlebars fell off. He figured God wasn't through with him yet. So, in 1920, he and Hoyt and a guy, I want to say Merle, does that ring a bell with anybody? Apparently a friend of theirs in Indiana decided to come out to California. This Merle, if that's his name, was sick, what they called at the time consumption, and he was, they thought the air in California would be better, so they were bringing him along. They put a board across the front seat to the back seat, and it was like a bed that he was on as they came out. And it was interesting that they did that for this guy. Unfortunately, he passed on, I think, when they got to Arizona, somewhere in there. That was, Dad told me about that. They started a painting and decorating business right away. He was in Who's Who in Los Angeles in 1922. He was listed as president and general manager, it said, of Blakely Brothers Corporation. As I understand it, I guess maybe all of them started out as Blakely Brothers, and then it was later became two companies, Blakely Brothers Corporation and Blakely Company. Is that what everybody thinks, pretty much?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think that's about how it went. He was the, let's see. Oh, yeah. And they were all living together, the brothers and the sisters. Anybody know the address? On South Doheny? 272 South Doheny in Beverly Hills. That was and it was kind of a family commune, I guess. They all lived together there. I can remember that house, just seeing it afterward. He was listed as loving all outdoor sports, and he was listed as single. Then he met Mom. She worked at one of the movie studios as a secretary, and they eloped to Yuma, Arizona. I believe that was in '34. And 2 years later, the invasion began. That was me and Bob and Frey and Richard and Tina in order. Yeah, that's right. And Aunt Nina introduced them. You might be interested. Aunt Nina worked as a secretary for Howard. Aunt Nina worked as a secretary for Howard Hughes during the early part of, I don't know, toward the end of the war, I guess it was. Let's see. Let's see. A couple things. This was that indicate maybe his character. Oh, by the way, we were talking about Dad a little bit, and we were sort of puzzled by the fact that we didn't have any real strong closeness or a lot of memories. I think we were puzzled by this. I know he was very hardworking. He was a great provider, and he used to take us boys camping and fishing and do a lot of things that we enjoyed like that. He and another partner built a house on Balboa Island, so we spent our summers a lot of time learning to swim and sail and things there. But part of it, I think we're sorry we never got to really know him as an adult. He passed on when when Bob and I were just in college and the others were younger, so we never really got a chance to get to know him from an adult point of view. But a couple of little incidents that I think point toward a character there. One of them was during the early part of the war. I was very little, and I can remember this actually being out in the backyard playing, and I was going to play gas station. And it was Sunday afternoon, the car was in the driveway. So I tried washing a couple of the windows. Then I pulled the hose over and filled the tank with water. And and it couldn't have been a worse time. Gasoline was rationed, parts were hard to come by. And I never heard anything about that, other than I'm sure I was told, please don't do that anymore. But there was no yelling or screaming. And another similar thing, Uncle Joe, I think it was telling me one time, he could remember that we'd had a family get together, and us boys, believe it or not, we were getting a little wild and cutting up. And so Dad called us over to the sofa, and Uncle Joe couldn't hear what he was saying, but he was saying something quietly to all of us. And he was very impressed because we actually quieted down, but the fact there was no yelling. Excuse me. It was just something said very quietly, and actually obeyed. I think those two things. He was quite a strict disciplinarian, but not a yeller or screamer. So that was interesting. He died in January 50. We don't remember whether it was 56 or 57. You say 6, right? We think 7. Yeah. Okay. Maybe then it was 57. And according to Mom, he had a terrific sense of humor, and which was lost on us, I guess. But anyway, and I think that's kind of a quick overview of Robert Lawrence Blakely Sr. And we are 4 of the 5. By the way, the 5th one is in Paris. The 5th one is in Paris.